This episode of the WP Builds podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. Hey, Sabrina, how you doing? You all right?
Hi, Nathan. Doing good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice to have you with us. This is the fourth of our Speed It Up shows. We're going to be doing a user-submitted website today. It was actually somebody that was on the call last week, so that's really nice. We'll get that on the screen in a moment. Firstly, it's my job to introduce Sabrina. Obviously, if you've watched this, you know who Sabrina is. She's as it says, she's a performance engineer. What does that mean, Sabrina? What do you spend your day doing most of the time?
Solving riddles.
Yeah.
I think it's the most interesting work in the world. You know, we all are a little bit afraid that AI will take our jobs because so many things can be automated now. But I think if you're doing things that AI cannot do, for example, solving riddles, if you're doing something creative, if you actually create things, it will be a long time before AI would take our jobs. So I'm not worried about this. Yeah, solving riddles. Why it is slow? Why there are layout shifts? Why something is not working?
Perfect. Well, it's good that you enjoy problem solving because that is the nature of today's show. We're going to solve problems for somebody. I should probably just say a couple of bits of housekeeping. First one is if you would like to share this show, let's say you're watching it live and you think it would be a good idea to share it, feel free to do that. The best place to point people, I guess, is wpbuilds.com/live. You can share that if you like, even if you're not watching it live. You could just stick it in an email and send it to somebody, because we'll be doing this each and every Thursday at 3 p.m. and that's the place on WP Builds to go for anything that we do live as well. The other thing to say is if you are at that page, then you can be, there's two options for commenting. The first one is to be logged into a YouTube account, and you can use the comments bar, which is on the right-hand side on desktop and is underneath if you're on a mobile. But also, if you notice in the little video player, top right-hand side is a little black icon, a little black rectangle, which says live chat. You can use that, and then you don't need to be logged into anything at all. If you happen to be watching this on Facebook, then in order for us to know who you are, you have to go to wave.video/lives/Facebook, and in that way that will de-anonymize you. If you do join us live and you fancy putting in a comment, feel free. That would be great. But we know how it works. People are busy and they've got different things going on, and we often find that people are watching this at the same time as actually doing their work, so they don't get to comment and things. But we have Mike. That's handy. We have Mike joining us today. He says, "Be gentle with my website," because he knows what's coming up. It's Mike's website that we're going to be looking at today. And I don't know if you want to do any background, Sabrina, and just tell us a little bit about it before we share your screen.
I'd like to tell a little bit about our show first. So
Sure.
for anyone who is watching this for the first time, this is Speed It Up show where we are talking about WordPress performance. And it's fourth episode. First one, we were talking, and if you go to, can you have that link where the archive is on the screen, Nathan?
Yeah, so I haven't got the link for the archive, but I can tell you how to get to the archive. The easiest way to do it is to go to wpbuilds.com and then go to the archives menu, which is in the top. And then if you go to the Speed It Up, it's actually the last item in that menu. So there's a drop down if you just go to the bottom. Whilst you talk, I'll make a little thing to put it on the screen.
Okay. Yeah. So it's our fourth episode. The first was about background images on the first screen. You know, when you have hero video background on the first screen, that's what we talked about in the first episode. In the second, we were talking about optimizing images, but not really in regular way, because there is a lot of information available about optimizing image optimization. But what it doesn't say which images you should optimize, because there is low-hanging fruits that you can optimize and win a lot from your efforts, and there are things that you can do for the checkbox that won't bring you a lot of value in return, you know. So the second episode was devoted to the question how to identify those images that you should target your efforts on. In our previous episode, we looked at two websites that were submitted to us through this form that we have, wpbuilds.com/speed. They were submitted by someone, and we looked at them live in the show. And this is what we are going to do today, but with another website, with Mike's website. This is a simple brochure website that is on staging now. It's not live. It doesn't have Google Analytics or Google Search Console connected, but we'll look at it from the front end and we'll try to figure out from this point what can be improved, if anything needs to be improved at all, what bottlenecks we might find. Let's look at it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll just go through those URLs just to be absolutely crystal clear. So if you would like to, after you've seen this show, maybe write this down. If you want Sabrina to freely, so it doesn't cost you anything, it's totally free. If you want to benefit from Sabrina's experience, then you can either watch the archive of the shows and pick them up one at a time, or if you've got a specific website that you'd like her to look at, go here, wpbuilds.com/speed. There's a form. It'll take you under a minute, I would imagine, in most cases, to fill out. You can do that. And then Sabrina will get an email and she can back and forth with you about what kind of access you want to give her, whether it's just front end or you want to give her the admin, an admin account on WordPress or what have you. The other one is the archive. If you want to look at the previous episodes, wpbuilds.com/speed it up archive with all the, words separated by hyphens. And last but by no means least, just a quick reminder, if you fancy dragging people into this show, wpbuilds.com/live. Okie doke. That's all the housekeeping, I think. Okay, shall I share your screen, Sabrina? Are you ready? Or have you got the...
Sure. Just give me 1 second. I'm opening it. Yeah, I have it on the screen.
Okay, here we go. So, perfect. This is Mike's site. I will hand it over to you. And if anything crops up in the chat or I have an intuition that I need to interrupt, I'll do just that.
Okay. So we are looking at the website that is on staging now, and we don't have back-end access to it. This is a very common situation that happens to me a lot. Someone would send me, some colleague would send me a website saying, like, we are building this, take a look if it's okay. So we'll try to do this right now with this website. First of all, as I mentioned before, so for the website that doesn't have Core Web Vitals yet, doesn't have field data yet, we will be using Chrome extension that tries to mimic the way Core Web Vitals are estimating. It uses the same engine, Lighthouse, but it might be using different versions from what actual Core Web Vitals are using, because they are not updating synchronously. But it gives us the picture of the website performance anyways. We'll look at desktop first, and for that, I will go to my Control-Shift-I if you're on PC, or you can right-click and Developers Tools, and here you can click Inspect to open this panel, and I'll throttle my connection to make it close to the Core Web Vitals assessment. I will throttle it to cable, and I will reload, and I will look what I can see here. I can see here all green, 1.6, good. Cumulative layout, if we don't have it, beautiful. It's home page. And here I want to bring our attention to something that we mentioned in the previous episode. People tend to check home page only, thinking that home page would reflect their website loading performance experience.
Yeah.
But it's not the case, right? Yes, homepage is important page, but it's just one of important pages. Other important pages you have to define yourself. For example, let's do it for this website. This simple site, right? Homepage would be important. Services, the services page, this is, I guess, this is archive page. This page would be important. Then every single service would be important. Let's see if they have the same template. Because if you have the same template for different pages, you can check one template and expect that other pages that are using the same template would have similar user experience, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have different types of content on the website with different template, it makes sense to check different templates, blog post, page template, whatever you have. Let's see. General. Here it looks like this. It's the same template. Yeah. So for this website, this is how I do audit usually. I would define important pages. So for this website, I would take home page. I would take one of the services because they use the same template. The services page itself, this one.
Yep.
Then
that's different.
Probably, yeah. Then probably I would look how other pages outside of services look like. Let's see. Okay. And let's see how contact page look like.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
That's different. And contact, that would be another important page because contact page is obviously call for action on this website. They want people to contact them, right? And on such websites, I would usually click here and see what's happening. Okay, I can see that call is happening because sometimes the button to call would produce pop-up or something. So I would check that one as well. So that bit is not slow.
Yep.
Right? Something
something's changed about the style there, hasn't it? Once it's
styles needs to be adjusted here.
Yeah.
But it's not our question.
No,
right now.
That's not our job today, right?
Yeah. So I would check contact page, one of the services single pages, services archive page, and home page, just to make sure that they all are fine. Let's look at services. I have a feeling about it because of the images. No, it loads fast. Good. In this case, when it just loads fast, it's fine, all green, I would probably, anyways, because it's staging, anyways, I would open network tab and look how it loads.
Can I just ask a question? You know your Chrome extension there, which whilst it's loading the page, it goes to a sort of grey square. Does the fact that it's green, what does that indicate? Does that indicate that the largest contentful paint, the LCP, is green? Which one is it picking as we're green?
Right. It would pick largest contentful paint, cumulative layout shift, and first input delay if we do something on the page. And if one of those is outside of green zone, it will change the color of this thing.
Okay. So the fact that it's green, you know that the first three things are green, and you have to open it up to
Right.
look at other things. Okay, that's good to know. Right,
Right,
thank you.
exactly. So even if one thing would not pass assessment, it would be yellow or red. And then we'll open and we will see. And cool thing about this extension, if we had field data already, if it was the live website, it would tell us here, your local LCP experience is such and such, and it replicates such percentage of experience of real users on your website. This is super handy. You can see how your lab tests replicate actual Core Web Vitals if we had it right now. Maybe in our future episodes we will have Core Web Vitals values and we will have more information here.
Let me just raise a point that Mike's just made. He's asking about the inspector itself, and I know that you use Vivaldi as your browser. Is that right, Vivaldi?
Yeah.
It's a Chromium derivative, isn't it? So I think
Yeah.
it's built on top of Chrome. Anyway, here's the question: how do we access the developer tools that you're using on Chrome? He says he right clicks and then selects inspect, but it looks different. The guess there would be. Mike, that Sabrina's using the menu across the top, so she's in the network menu at the moment. So yeah, right. And so if Sabrina, if you just come out of there, but yeah, right click,
Yeah,
developer tools,
let me
inspect.
go through this. So right click, inspect,
Yep.
right? It will open Elements
Perfect.
tab.
Yep.
Right, and here is where you have your HTML, and here on your right you have, if the layout is the same, you have CSS related to each, so I can click on element and see which CSS is applied to that bit, right? And here, a very handy thing, you can check sizes, for example, and you can see where this is very handy for CLS, for layout shifts investigation. Sometimes the size of the element that we have, it's not defined directly, it's inherited from parent size, and you cannot understand from where the height or the width of the certain element is coming from. So this is another part where you can inspect that. And I was in the tab network. And here in network, we can see all assets loading. This is called waterfall. We can see all assets loading. And you can also pick and separately and see separately JavaScript, CSS, images, fonts. We will do it just now. Let me just reload it. Control F5. So we throttle connection. Let me
Another thing to
reload it.
say, Mike, if you have a large monitor, what can be handy is if at the very top left of the console,
Over here.
you can do it there. Yeah, great. So you can undock it from the browser. So Sabrina's screen, we obviously want everything on the screen. It would make no sense in having that elsewhere because now she's got to resize it. But you get the point. You could park it somewhere else on your monitor, which I prefer when I'm not working on a laptop if I've got a bigger screen. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Sabrina. That was helpful.
So getting back to the performance of this exact website, it was passing, it was fine, right? What's happening here? Let's reload and see why it's saying no, it's fine. Okay, so it was passing, it was fine, but anyways, I would do this for any website, and I would recommend to do this to anyone who is looking at it. I would just go and take a look, just in case, what is happening here. And order here seems to be fine from the very first side, because the very first thing that should be loaded is your HTML page. You wouldn't believe, but in many cases, your HTML might be not the first thing to load. Sometimes it's third parties JavaScript that are loaded before even HTML of your page. Sometimes it happens. So I would check this. Yes, it's loading first, and I will look over here to see how fast it's loading. And here I can see that, like, here we can see how the connection to HTML is happening. And all good here, but this I don't like. Waiting for server response 700 milliseconds. I don't like it. I don't know why and how this is happening, but whenever I see this, when it's more than 300 milliseconds, I would probably do the following. I would just check the server. In this case, we don't really need to do this because this site lives on staging, on Mike's staging for now. But if it was real staging or real website that is already live, and I would see that waiting for server takes 700 milliseconds, I just want to show it now what I would do. I would go to, there is a key CDN performance
Oh, no, you
testing
haven't
tool.
quite got the spelling right. It'll fail.
Yeah. Key CDN, new keyboard.
Yeah, nice. Nice problem to have.
Performance test. And here I can do this. Look, I can put my URL here and it will test the website from servers around the world. And I will see time to first byte from around the world.
Oh, that's neat. I didn't know about this. That's very cool. I use a different thing, but that's great. Look at that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And look what we can see here. Look what we can see here.
Yeah, if you're
I
in
don't
London,
like what I see here.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So London, Frankfurt, and website is for UK. So this question right now, it's more for Mike's own server, question to his server, not for the website because it's staging. But in other situation, I would go and check, and this you would expect this to be less than 200-300 milliseconds. And what you can tell from what we're seeing here, connection is very, very fast, right? And we're checking those locations that we're interested in. We're checking Frankfurt, Amsterdam, London. So we're checking the locations next to our actual audience. So connection to the server is fast, but time to first byte is slow. And this means, this indicates to us that there is a problem not with the server itself, but with WordPress backend. Because if it was server, we would see something here, we would see slowness here. But this means that before server receives the request, and before it responds, it takes server some time to put PHP together. So in this case, if I had access, I would probably go to WordPress dashboard, install Query Monitor, and see what's happening there. Maybe there are long queries there, or there are issues with auto-loaded options or something. There should be something in backend that's slowing it down.
Just so that you know, Query Monitor is a plugin which you can get from the repository. It's completely free as far as I'm aware. I don't think there's a paid version, but I think maybe there is. I'm not sure. But you can download that plugin and it gives you all sorts of data in your WordPress dashboard, including lots of data actually in the admin bar, which is really useful to look at. Can I just interject there as well? Is it possible that because this is a staging environment, I know that a lot of hosting companies will put less resources into the staging setups that they have than they would do into their live setups. So is there a possibility that because it's on staging, the hardware, if you like, that the hosting company are putting into that might be a factor?
I don't think that it's the case in
Okay.
this case because it's not a separate URL. As I can see, that Mike is hosting it under
Oh,
his
yeah, very good
website. So I
point.
suppose it's
Yeah,
multi-site network
yeah,
that
yeah.
where Mike has clients' websites.
Thank you. Well
Um,
spotted.
but as you already mentioned it, I think it's important to understand that when you have server and you have production and staging on the same server, staging is eating resources from your production. So if you have a tight server and you put staging live, or you make few stagings like dev environment, staging environment, just keep in mind that resources that you have for production are spread now between three websites. Yes, there might be no visitors there to load the website, but some processes might be happening in the background nevertheless, and taking resources for staging and dev sites and some versions, because I've seen situations where there are like 5, 6, 7 development environments created for different purposes on the same server as production, and people are wondering why the backend is slow.
Okay,
So
Mike's come in and said that the site is running on a live shared server. So at least we've got that information. Thank you, Mike.
mhm. So by this information, what we have now, we can tell that, okay, we are passing Core Web Vitals, but server responses like this time to first byte is not very good, and it's good that we are passing Core Web Vitals lab test right now, but this is something that we might want to look into if we are not passing, because we are passing despite of it. Let's get back and see what we can see also in the loading situation. So we have here our HTML document, and just after it, I can see there is a JavaScript file, which actually shouldn't be happening. In this case, I would probably open the JavaScript file and look what it is doing. Ideal situation is that you have your HTML document loading. After that, you have CSS loaded, but not everything, but only those CSS that are needed. After that, you have images that on the first screen loaded. And after that, you have JavaScript loading, whatever it is. In many themes, it won't be possible because sometimes JavaScript needs to go somewhere higher. It's not a good situation, but if you're already stuck with that theme, you can't do much. But if it's in your power, this is the ideal order that you should have. Document first, CSS after, fonts, images, and JavaScript after other JavaScript. Let's see what this is doing. So this is hosted, first of all, this is JavaScript. We don't want it there, but also it's hosted somewhere
Somewhere
outside
else,
of.
yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to tell
Yeah, it's so
from
minified, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's no, sometimes by words
Yeah, you
that
look for little clues. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I can tell what it is doing. I don't know what it is doing, but if I were working on this website, I would investigate what it is doing, and do we really need it so high in critical rendering path? Probably not. And then I would fiddle with the order of loading to make it go down after CSS. Then we can see CSS here. And for our convenience, I will switch to CSS tab here to see CSS only. Let's see, that's a lot of CSS. And they
It is.
all, so here in waterfall, you see the blue line.
Yeah.
This is our largest contentful paint, blue line, right? So all this CSS is loaded before LCP. Do we really need all this CSS to show the first screen? Probably not. What we can do here, We can use something that would extract CSS that is used on the page and load it first, put it in head of our page, load it first, and wouldn't be making all these requests to all this CSS. So it will be critical rendering CSS loaded first, and all other CSS that is needed, for example, to show footer, would be loaded after. WP Rocket does this. Perf Matters does
Matters,
this.
yeah. Is that Sabrina? Is the when you do that exercise, let's say you're in the plugin WP Rocket or Perf Matters, or there's a host of other ones that will take this work on as well. Is it a case of just moving things to lower down in the cascade, if you like, and then loading the site and looking? Because sometimes sometimes CSS is modeled up in all sorts of different places, isn't it? And you can't quite tell until you load the site and see, oh, that's now broken. So obviously that
Yeah.
can't be in that place. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes there is CSS that should be loaded in certain order, and once
Correct. Yeah.
you change the order,
Yep.
you can see glitches.
Yep.
That's why a lot of services, including Perf Matters and WP Rocket, that provide this functionality, they have, so you click the button, you have the work done, but there is the opportunity to manually adjust, tune what you need to tune. For example, to exclude certain classes from this process, or to make them load faster, or to make them load later, for example. There is tuning there that might be needed, and that's why after doing this, it would be a good idea to go to different templates and look at different templates, because it would extract CSS per template. And if one template looks fine, it doesn't mean that another template looks fine as well. So after, it's complicated process,
Right.
right?
And also you
So
were
after
saying on last
doing,
week's show that some of those plugins will enable you to just not load CSS on a particular page because it doesn't have any purpose being there. So it may be that you can do that exercise as well. Go to the different templates and figure out, well, I don't need that because I'm on the home
good
page now, or I
point,
need that because I'm on an archive page or something. Yeah. Just a couple of quick
absolutely.
things.
And
Couple of quick comments have come in. Because Sabrina's on full screen, she can't see the comments, so I'll just quickly raise them in. First, Nero was just asking Mike if he was on the latest version of WordPress, which he said it was, and Nero was asking, does that possibly affect speed, the latest version of WordPress? I guess in short, probably not massively, but they are making quite a lot of progress on WordPress's core speed. But Sabrina can answer that in a second. So does core updates affect speed? And also Mike has a question about if he enabled his themes disable, the themes enable CSS preload option, would that help? So let's go to the does the WordPress version affect speed? Should we tackle that one first?
this is a very good question, and it's not a simple question as it might look like. It's a very deep question, in fact. When I see this news, I know a lot of people in performance team who work on in WordPress core. Actually, a lot of my colleagues from XWP or WP Rocket or people with whom I worked, they work for performance team. They contribute there. And when I see news that performance team did such and such, and this will improve the performance of such and such element, I feel very happy on one side, but on another, I think there is a lack of understanding of such news. So these improvements, they are affecting all WordPress websites in the world, a huge amount of websites, but in a small way. So for your particular website, it might not be seen as an improvement at all, because most likely your particular website was slow not because of that small thing in the core, you know?
Yeah.
When they test before, after, like, here is an issue, we can fix it in this way. This is our lab test for performance of this function, for example. We improved it in such way, and here are our improvements. This is beautiful, but these numbers for bare WordPress installation in lab. And even if you have older version of WordPress, but it's clean, neat, it doesn't have buggy plugins, it doesn't have old functions, it doesn't have flaws of pop-ups and all third-party services that are there, it might be very fast. And you can have the latest version of WordPress, but with all that baggage with you, you won't notice any difference after update. And that's why this news, they make me a little bit sad, because they are putting so much effort into improving important things, but many people won't see the result of this effort because their websites are so slow. Like, it was loading, for example, like LCP was 6 seconds, and now, because of such efforts, it's 5.4. What does change? It doesn't change much.
I'm with you.
And
okay, so it does matter, but caveat emptor, you still got to do this work. And then
yeah,
let's just deal with this one. Obviously, in his theme, I don't know what theme he's using. I didn't catch sight of that. Maybe it was Cadence. I think I saw that word.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
He says he's got an option called Enable CSS Preload. I don't know if you know what the Cadence theme does there off the top of your head.
I don't know.
No.
Maybe it does, because some themes and builders, they have this inbuilt functionality. When it extracts the used CSS and put it in the head section of the page. Maybe this exactly what Cadence developers meant by preloading CSS. Maybe it does exactly that. So to check that, Mike, you can enable that function and look in the code. So if it does what we are thinking it's doing, you shouldn't be seeing CSS files loading here, but instead you would see CSS Control new keyboard. Instead, you would see CSS added to the head part of your page. I can see Cadence-based CSS here, so there is a little bit already. You see,
Yeah,
Cadence
I see that.
Global
Yeah.
CSS. So there is a little bit of CSS already here. Maybe that option would bring more stuff in head and free up those requests. Important thing here to understand that we don't want to bring all CSS here. We only want CSS that is actually used on the page, and ideally that is used on the first screen or first two screens to be in the head part, and all other CSS to be loaded later. This is ideal situation.
Okay. All right.
And
Back to where you were. Sorry, Sabrina. We had a bit of
I
a
want to
segue there.
go back to something you mentioned, Nathan, about perf meters. For example, have this functionality where you can disable load of assets of plugins that are not used on certain pages. And here is a good example of this. Contact form, contact page. So we don't have contact form on other pages. You know, some websites, they have contact form on every single page of their website, in footer, for example. On this website, we don't have it. So we don't need to load JavaScript and CSS of this contact form on any other page except of contact page. I would probably take a look with what this contact form is done. It's done with Cadence block. Okay. And let's see what it uses as CSS. It uses block styles. So I don't think we can optimize in that way here.
Okay.
But
if
for
there was
example,
a
if
separate file for, I don't know, the Cadence contact form block, and you could see that, you could potentially, with something like Perf Matters or WP Rocket, you could switch it off, except obviously on that page where you would need it.
You can do it, for example, for contact form 7. It loads its JavaScript and CSS separately. So for the pages where it's not in use, you can toggle, in Perf Matters, you can toggle do not load CSS and JavaScript on other pages except of contact form. WP Rocket doesn't have this functionality. Perf Matters. You can also do this as a function in functions PHP. If you put the function, if page such and such, if the page is contact us, add those CSS and JavaScript, enqueue them. If it's something different, dequeue. Sorry,
NQ and DQ.
DQ, thank you. I'm always confused with the pronunciation of this word. Yeah, this is what we can do. All right, let's. It's 43 minutes. I don't
know what the heck. Mind you, we've covered a lot of ground. I think there's been a lot of good stuff. It's been great. Don't worry, we're in good shape.
Let's do this. We'll take a look at it and we'll try to figure out one more important thing here. Okay, we talked about its time to first byte, this JavaScript that is loaded where we don't want it, right? And then the CSS that we can improve. Now, we have fonts following. This is a normal situation. Fonts should be following, but what I would also do, I would switch to font and see how many fonts are loaded. And this is beautiful website. This is, it's only 2 fonts that are loaded here. This comes from my Loom extension. This is not from the website.
Right.
So we have only 2 fonts loaded here. Cool, beautiful. How nice their initiator, it's what is calling that form. They are called directly. Cool, because often, indeed in Elementor, for example, font file would be called from CSS. So in order to load font, it should be a call done to CSS, and then from CSS there would be a call to font. And often it's a call to Google Fonts, so it's few calls that you can easily skip. But here the situation is good. Okay, let's move forward. What else? Let's take a look at this. JavaScript. And I switched to JavaScript, and we have our blue line here. So these 4 JavaScripts are loaded before LCP and all others after. Without even looking what are those JavaScripts are, I can tell that this is a good situation. It's only 4, it's not 44. This is beautiful already. And these are unknown for me script that probably should go out from here. It's
that was the one that we saw at the top, right? You mentioned that one earlier. I believe it's the same one.
And navigation, and then banner. Probably this banner should go somewhere down as well. Oh, it comes from the same place. Look.
Yeah.
Client data, banner, JavaScript. I would suggest that this banner JavaScript can be easily delayed without sacrificing any functionality or anything. Just like we have all other things delayed, we need to delay that one as well. Let's look at images now. What we have here.
Logo.
Logo first. On the first place. Cool, good. And SVG, beautiful. Okay. Another thing, what is it? Address, email, SVG. This is from here.
Yeah, these ones. Yeah.
Like, ideally, this
It's a
should be
bit lazy.
lazy loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't spend any time on doing this because there are no problems here.
And less
If
than
there
half
were
a
problems,
kilobyte in some cases. Well, no, 700
yeah,
bytes. Yeah.
yeah. While we have a little bit of time, let's just look at mobile version. So for mobile version, I would do the same. I would open this panel, and then I have this small toggle here where I can choose the device I'm viewing as. And I would choose iPhone 12 here, and I will throttle the connection more to fast 3G, and just let's take a look how it's loaded. And usually when I'm doing this on one screen,
Yeah,
I would put
you can push it to the side, can't you? That's nice. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
Mm,
You can just drag it, can't you? There you go. Yeah.
yeah.
Lovely.
Lovely. Let's see. That wasn't super fast.
No, something definitely largest contentful paint, is it?
Yes, it was largest contentful paint that is slow. Beautiful thing that we don't have layout shifts here. This is our luck. But why? Why LCP is slow here? And I have an idea why, and let's check if I'm right. This image, which is our background, right? Let's check. So for this, I would do right click here on the element that is our LCP inspect, and I would open the element itself and see how this image is, where it's defined. Or if it takes me longer, I will check if the one that is loaded is the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, you could, I guess, click on that. Contact-scaled.webp.
So I would do Control F here. Was it contact?
Hyphen scaled.
Scaled.
Yeah, with a D. .webp. That's it.
Background image. Yeah. So, background image. I would suggest that it's not sized properly. That's why it's taking a while. That it can be.
Where's it gone? There it is. There it is, right at the bottom.
Yeah.
Grab that. Hey.
So,
you can't get in there. Can you double click into it or no?
Yeah. So what the reason how we can make this bit faster? First of all, if we have this opportunity, I don't know if with Cotton's theme you can do this, but if you have this opportunity, do not put it in background image. Make it look as a background image. But if it's on the first screen, you would want to put it in image or picture tag better because it would be loaded faster than image called through CSS. So if there is opportunity in the theme to make this not as a CSS attribute background, but picture, do these. This would be a better solution, and we can open it
and look see at how big it
itself. It was 50 kilobytes, and for mobile, we would probably want to cut it to the right size because it's loaded in its full size, and then in browser it gets scaled and fit, and this takes time. Not only, and I think there is confusion here about these images. It's not only because it's 50 kilobytes and we will do 30 kilobytes from it. It's not because of those 20 kilobytes. It's because of calculation done in the browser. when you load the image that is not of the size that is needed, and you use CSS to size it properly, there is calculation behind it, and it should happen using resources, using browser resources, computer resources, or mobile phone resources. And this might take longer time than actually load kilobytes of image. This makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense. Mike says that he thinks, he's not sure, I don't think, he thinks in the Cadence theme there is an option to load up different images on mobile. And so, yeah, having that as an actual image, but also swapping that out for mobile. I mean, you could make it a third as big, couldn't you? And it would still work perfectly well.
And the trick here would be not even to cut those 20 kilobytes from the image size itself, but to skip the work needed from the browser and mobile device to get done.
Yeah. All the computation involved in. Yeah.
Exactly. So this would be our last point today, I think. It's not that much that we looked at, sadly.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I think we looked at a lot. I hope Mike has been able to gather a little bit from that. I think I've gathered a few bits and pieces, if only to navigate around the inspector and begin to familiarize yourself with where all the tools are and what have you. Shall I take the screen share off? There we go. So, Mike, hopefully you got something out of that. It's gone dark where you live, Sabrina. Now it's like, I think it's the wind.
The sun is shining.
Yeah, the light's coming in, so everything in the background. Yeah, so everything in the background looks really dark. But never mind, that's absolutely fine. So that's a wrap for today. If you fancy sharing this, I will put it out on not on social media. I'll put it on the website. Let me just share that one more time. I'll share the little caption for that. It will go onto the archive, which is here, wpbuilds.com/speed it up archive, all separated with hyphens. You'll be able to see that probably tomorrow, probably at some point. And if you want to share that with your friends and colleagues, you'll be able to see the progress of all the episodes. If you wish to, like Mike did, if you would like to submit your own site, there's a form at wpbuilds.com/speed. If you go there, then you can submit your site and Sabrina will get in touch and figure out the level of access that you require. One last little comment from Mike. He obviously did find it useful. So he says, thank you so much. Lots of information to take forward. And Nero said he learned a lot about the inspector tool today. So yeah, isn't it funny how things that you do every day, Sabrina, you probably have the assumption that, well, everybody can do that. And of course they can't. Just things like the inspector is total mystery to a proportion of the people. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Anything to add before we knock it on the head, Sabrina?
I think I'm looking forward for the next episode. I'm looking forward to what we will have submitted for the next week.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Well, we'll be back this time next week. So Thursday, 3 p.m. UK time, whatever that is, wherever you live. And we will see you in a week's time. Thanks, Sabrina. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, everyone who joined. Bye.
Bye-bye.